You are listening to the Taps and Teas Show, weekly conversations for people passionate about marketing, golf, and craft beer. Marty is the co-founder of Bad Rhino, an award-winning digital marketing agency helping golf and craft beer brands get real results in social media marketing. Here is your host, Marty McDonald.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Taps and Teas, just continuing this series and talking to good people in marketing. It's not all about trying to promote myself all the time. There's a lot of good people out there, and been doing this for so long. I get to introduce a good friend and one of the smartest people I know in digital marketing. He's been around for a while. He's a best-selling author. He's co-founder and president of Conversion Fanatics, which you can find at conversionfanatics.com. He knows his numbers, which I really like talking to him about that. He's been around, like I said, so you can call him a digital marketing veteran, but he's also a father, husband, like I said, a best-selling author. He can help you double your customers, and I'm not lying there. He will show you where your sales and profits come from online with a ton of different testing, just like we do at Bad Rhino. But, more importantly, he's been around and he tells the truth. He's helped a ton of different companies, names that like Burt's Bees, Dr. Axe, and a ton of other companies, help them convert better online. And the best thing about Justin is when he speaks from experience. He's not trying to blow smoke or anything like that. He's one of the good people in this industry. So if you're looking to hire somebody and you're looking at your conversion and you're looking at everything, you don't know what to do, place to start. So check it out. And without further ado, Justin, are you there?
Yeah, I am. Thanks for having me. And you're giving me way too much credit.
I know. I normally don't, but I figured for the podcast, I'd have to really push you up. Most of the time, we just break balls online. If you follow either one of us, you see that. But no, honestly, you are one of the better people, and that's who I've been interviewing for this whole thing. And why don't you give a little bit more color to your background, and we'll go from there.
Cool. Yeah. Well, first of all, I appreciate it. And I've been around, like you said, I've been around a while. I think this is year 19 or so for me, way back, young lad with a dream. So almost 19 years. Started out kind of a network marketing, affiliate marketing, moved up the ranks, had my own information publishing company that did some pretty awesome things, kind of sold it back. I guess that's been 10 years now.
Yeah.
Started a private consultancy, and that kind of spiraled out of control into what morphed into what's now Conversion Fanatics, where we get to help a lot of really, really cool people and help them do a lot of cool things and help a lot of them, millions of, people with amazing products and services.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I always enjoy talking with you is, I've been doing this 17 years-ish, almost 18. And started very similarly, so it's always interesting. But what got you into marketing? Well,
I was working as an electrician at the time. I'm actually a trained electrician by trade, but I was on my hour 80 or 85 for a week, and I got absolutely said I can't continue to do this at this pace. So I just had some friends that introduced me to network marketing. And I failed absolutely miserably at that. And I just realized that I can't bump into people and get them to spend money with me and buy my products and sign up for my business opportunity at the time. So I found the internet and realized that I could generate leads. And I guess kind of the rest is history. But I've really just understood the psychology and kind of fascinated me. The psychology of that you can make one small change on a page, or you can say one particular phrase or word, and you can get people to do stuff and take that desired action that you want them to take. And that's always fascinated me. And that's kind of morphed into what we have now. And I just realized that I could be kind of a keyboard warrior and do a lot of amazing things and make people do what it is that I want them to do. And, with the written word or, in copywriting or, visuals and things of that nature.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting because that's how I started in a roundabout way. I started on earliest forms of AdWords, and then went affiliate route and was selling everything, nefarious products. Mm-hmm. You get the underbelly of the world like it was back then, when people taking crazy things online and And some of them were reputable companies. They were just taking whatever they couldn't sell through direct channels. They were taking it through the internet. And it was like the Wild West. And, I learned through that. Then I got a couple of clients and, kind of the same path. And then you wind up in, those network marketing worlds. And I think, a lot of that can be used as training grounds, for what actually I know it was training ground for me for what we do now and owning my own agency. And I think a similar pattern for you. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, I learned the art of personal development through all of that.
Right.
And got to meet some really cool people, found my mentor, which is coincidentally how we met, be speaking on, I ended up speaking at a large event because of that relationship. And I guess, God, that's been a long time.
A long time ago. I know. It's funny is like, there's so many people. I mean, like Eric Wilkes, who works for us now and with us. I met him in Vegas whenever the first No Excuses Summit was. I think it was 2009. He was on stage. That was a year that I sold my partnership. And and I spoke at 1 and 2 of that. And I think I met you at 2 when you spoke. I remember you speaking at the first one, although those memories are kind of fuzzy for everybody.
That was party. Las Vegas 10 years ago. But
but it's an interesting path, going through that.
It is. And, it's just come down to personal development and really just understanding that, your own personal growth paths and, to just work with what you can control. And it's just kind of the path that I've personally followed, but I'll thank it to meeting those relationships, and having those relationships started way back when, even when, and that have fostered into us being friends, 10 plus years later in completely different industries doing completely different things. There's a lot to be said about that, but I would have never learned about, what they used to call standing order back in the network marketing days, where you just get your CD of the month type scenario, and learning from, the greats like Jim Rohn and other, leaders in certain industries, and then spiraling into what I know now. But it's just creating those habits of just working on myself and figuring out what I can control and what I cannot. And, just putting my best foot forward every single day and not sweat the stuff that I can't control.
Yeah, personal development is a big thing in the industry, and it definitely exposed me to it. I mean, that was a huge part and still is. And it's an important part. And I think what you said earlier is like, you learn how to change like 1 or 2 things on a page or in copy. And the next thing you know, it's converting, 10x better, 2x better, whatever. What was like the biggest eye opener for you? Realize that, hey, this conversion thing and looking at how people look at the offer, was there like one moment where you're like, oh my gosh, this doesn't really work?
Well, I remember it way back even in our info publishing days. I was split testing things when there wasn't software to split test. And, you have to create duplicate pages, and you couldn't just add elements. You couldn't track it very well because you just had to split AdWords traffic to go there. So it was kind of a go by your gut type scenario with very little data compared to what we have today. But I remember testing an animated arrow on a button and seeing like ridiculous, like 40% improvement in leads. And that's like, I was already split testing at the time.
Right.
But just seeing that and equated to roughly $1,900. I still remember this. I don't know why, but it equated to about $1,900 a day in additional revenue.
Wow.
From just adding a little arrow to a button. And of course, things have completely changed in types of how I optimize and do things. But back then I was just split testing stuff and hoping something stuck.
Right.
But that just got me thinking about it. And I've seen it 1,000 times since then. Is just one small change can drive people to take different actions and, could make or break your results. One's, down to even a small letter change in how you position it in the subconscious and the psychological approach. There's many, many studies that have happened about that, even pre-internet days. But even looking at, things like that come in the book Influence, for example, it's one of my all-time favorite books. They talk about the turquoise jewelry where they couldn't even basically give the stuff away until they doubled the price. And now all of a sudden it sells out faster than ever. So it's what really makes people tick is what fascinates me about it and kind of got me down this path. And what really got me was everybody and their brother is teaching traffic. Back then we had, John Reese came out with traffic secrets. They, you're in social media game. God, how many Facebook ads experts are there?
So
quote
many.
unquote Facebook ads. And I even talked about this when I wrote my book. There's two sides of the coin, and you got traffic and conversions, but you can't have one without the other. And I was so kind of tired of people focusing solely on the traffic side and that they needed the other side. So what if you could get 10, 15, 20% more out of your efforts without spending more money? And that's kind of where it led me down, and my kind of love for numbers led me to what's optimization today.
Yeah, I think, well, first off, I'm actually re-listening to Influence for probably the 100th time, it feels like, but just started re-listening to it the other day, which is interesting that you brought that up, because there's a lot of things in there. And I think when you're talking about that, talking about background, back in the day, you change one little thing, but you're doing all this manual testing, it just blows your mind. It almost feels like magic, right? And I think some people, fast forwarding to 2020, they still think that the internet is magic when there's so much more to it, that you have to include all these things. And I know, when people come to us and they're like, well, this isn't working, we'll spend more money on it. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, that could be part of it. You might need some more eyeballs on it, but let's change a couple of things. Do you find people that are reluctant to change, on their website or their landing page or whatever most often, or are
we get completely different ends of the spectrum. People that are all about it, that just do whatever, make it perform better. And we got the other people that fight us just every step of the way to make any meaningful improvement, even though we've got data to back it up. And, I think, like you said, people just want to pour more fuel on the fire, and they just want, and literally in a lot of cases, burn that money. You and I have had these conversations before, but, you get companies that come to you and it's like, okay, I got you 2x the results on less money spent. But they're like, but you didn't spend our budget. It's like, well, come on, seriously? It's like, just because I didn't spend it doesn't mean, and I made you more money, that's a good thing. Or companies just chopping off their own hand for the sake of, saving a couple bucks. But yeah, I don't get it. We have, clients right now that are up month over month, 20%. And They're like, well, I think we need to stop optimizing. I'm like, what is wrong with you? I don't get the psychology from that standpoint. And then you mentioned, back when it was the Wild West, at the same time, I think people, because we have the internet and it's this magical place and we have all of this software and we had all of these, automations and all of this stuff to try to make everything convenient for us, I think that actually hurts us in a lot of ways. You and I kind of have the same philosophy on it, but having been through so many changes in, the onslaught of the internet and marketing, and nothing's changed.
No, nothing at all has changed.
It's just the mediums have changed. And I think, people and consumers have probably gotten dumber over this whole side of it because of it. Attention spans are super short. And it's just weird to see that I've talked about this for years, but nothing's changed. It's still the same principles. It's still the same methods. It's still the same everything. And it's the same thing I tell people when they ask me. It's like, well, have you optimized my particular type of product? And my answer is always yes. I'm like, do you sell to people? We're all in the people business at the end of the day. So I just try to understand the behaviors of those people. And it could be, whatever that demographic is. And then I just try to make it easier for them to do what it is that I want them to do. And that's usually give my clients money.
It's hilarious though, when you talk about budgets. We took on a client not all that long ago, and They're like, well, we're spending $125,000 a month. And I said, well, my first goal is to get you to spend less and get the same results. And they were like, well, we can still spend that much. And I'm like, no, I get it, but we need to optimize it in order to scale it. And I'm like, as soon as we get in there, I guarantee you we'll be able to drop it, a little bit, maybe considerably. And they were laughing a little bit. And they're like, well, we want to spend that money. So we want to, I'm like, I get what you're saying. In the first month, we did the same, revenue on only $35,000 spend. And we actually increased a handful of pages that were converting better. And it was hilarious because then they were like, well, we didn't spend the other 90 grand. And I'm like, okay, where are we, what are we missing here? like where are you coming from that you want to spend more? And they're like, well, if we can spend only that, then we can, in their head, they can double it, right? Or triple it or quadruple it, right? And I'm like, well, we maximize the market. I'm like, that's kind of what optimization means there. Yeah. They're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you were way overspending and your former agency was screwing you over because they added all these other ads that weren't going anywhere, but you were spending money on clicks. And I'm like, yeah, they spent your money, but you could do the same. Now we have to take that into the other markets that you really want to optimize and create that again. And I'm like, then we'll get up to that 125, but you'll make a heck of a lot more money. And they're like, well, next month we should spend the whole 125. I'm like, well, all right, time out. Like, what part of this do you not understand? Yeah. And some of them just get lost in that because, when you're dealing with bigger companies and they have bigger budgets, they're afraid to lose those budgets. And they're afraid because people constantly say you got to spend more, which is true to a certain extent. But you want to make sure it's optimized, like you said, and that's what you're paying us for. And let's get that part done, and then let's scale up. And sometimes it's like an uphill battle for that, and it's crazy. Outside of your kids and family and all that, I mean, what gets you up in the morning to kind of do this stuff?
The unknown. Even though I've done this so long, I'm still proven wrong, and I'm still surprised at the results. So the fact that I get to help some amazing companies do amazing things, and they get to help, millions of people. And I say this to my staff every week, is it's more than us. It's more than just us helping our clients. We get to help a lot of amazing people, do some amazing things and help them with amazing products. And, just seeing that change in that really kind of keeps me driving. And I'm kind of a workaholic anyway. So it's just constantly grabbing, and there's always a next, there's always another level, and just striving to be a little bit better than I was yesterday is kind of what keeps me going. Yeah. And we joke that, it's agency life.
Yeah.
You're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to get kicked in the chin. You're going to do that like with any business, but that's kind of what keeps me going. And my fight or flight reaction is just work harder. And that's what I do.
And I think, some people will laugh at this depending on where you're coming from. And this is why I have people like Justin, and I had Gene on, and a handful of other people that we'll be hearing over the next few episodes. But what Justin just said is, I've been hanging out with a ton of marketers and a ton of agency owners for the past 12, 15 years regularly. And the one common theme I hear is, and myself included, is a little bit of workaholic, right? Doesn't mean we don't take breaks. It doesn't mean that, you're constantly working, but you're always looking for that next thing to a certain degree. And I laugh all the time when I do see the ads, and this is just, for the clients and future clients that are listening to this, don't fall for the guy that says they can run your ads on all your networks in 4 hours a week, or 2 hours a week, or they're running them from wherever while they sit on a beach. It's kind of funny because the only people I know in this business are constantly tweaking, and they're constantly working on the ads, as well as any conversion factors, whether it's on the website or landing page, email response. They're always working and tinkering on those things, and that takes time. And I think that's a big thing, is it takes time to be good at it. It's not something that you can just pick up and run. And I'm not knocking people that are just starting out. I was there, and you have to really put the time in to be able to articulate what you're going to do, and then explain the actual data that comes out of it.
Hey, if you're enjoying what you're hearing on the show and want more, head on over to tapsandtees.info and get our free report with game-changing tips and strategies straight to your inbox. Just enter your info and stop being stuck with no marketing plan.
So with that, like, what do you hate about the marketing industry? And let's phrase this the right way, because it's not so much hate, but what do you like really bugs you just about the agency world right now?
That everybody and their brother, well, first the term agency in and of itself has kind of been bastardized.
Right.
And it's given us that have been through the trenches for years a real bad name.
Sound old.
And well, yeah, but there's those that can do, and there's those that can sell it.
Right.
Everybody buys a course because I could log on to Facebook right now and see 10 ads for people pimping how to get clients.
Right.
Yep. It's what's happened with the industry. It's leveled the playing field for the bad, and it's making it harder for those of us that actually can do and evolve. And that's really where I try to turn it off, but it's still hard to see because I have those conversations every week with companies that have been burned by the past company that claimed they were, I just had one Friday that a company said, well, our programmatic agency or our agency said they're going to do some CRO. And he called me literally 3 weeks later. I said, how's that working out for you? And he said, well, they gave us the odd suggestion once in a while, but they're nowhere near doing anything CRO. I said, right, you ready to do this now, like the right way? And he's starting this week. So,
yep.
But I have that conversation every single week. They claim they're going to do it. Or you see in our Facebook groups, we're kind of master trolls about that. But you see all these people, oh, hey, I just sold this $10,000 a month client. Now what? Now what should I do to fulfill on this? They do so much about getting clients and making that, the shiny Lambo and mansion type syndrome. And it's not that easy. I wish it was that easy.
Me too.
I would have a 10 times bigger agency and, maybe take a vacation to the beach once in a while. It's that constant evolution. And I tell people that I'm a conversion guy. I'm not a miracle worker, but I'm good. I'm going to get you results, but I can't take something and infinitely scale it and infinitely grow it. I've yet in my 20 years been able to get 100% conversion rate. So for that, I keep trying. And, it's just those incremental marginal improvements that constantly compound, but it takes work. We're working every single day. I bet I have 200 split tests running right now, across all of our clients. And we're going to probably have another 15 or 20 or more. Actually, we're going to have more than that up this week. I don't care who you are. There's always something to change. There's always something to tweak. There's always something to adjust to help scale businesses. And it takes a village. And those guys sitting on the laptop lifestyle, I wish it were true, but unfortunately it's not.
That explanation I think is good. And I work with so many different people over the years as well as recently, and they are looking for a quick fix. And I think a lot of agencies and consultants, whatever you want to call them, they pitch the quick fix. And I've had, the number of clients is irrelevant, but for 10 years and still in business doing this, servicing clients, I think the quote unquote quick fix has happened to us twice. And that's hundreds of clients, consulting and retainer. And when I look at the numbers, I always say, look, it's going to take, 3 to 6 months. And I'm not saying that you're not going to get results day one or change your results day one. I'm just saying to have tangible data that you can then make decisions off of, it's going to take you a little bit of time. And I always do this. They'll be like, well, we have this other agency and they said in 10 to 14 days. I was like, okay, just go with them then. And I'm like, so many of them, when I call back, just like you gave that example, or they reach out, I was like, so what did you learn? And not saying it that way, but that's where it is. And you're right, within the industry is you have these fancy things and people can sell on the concept or idea, but then deliver it, is a whole other story. And I like to sell on the deliverability and just kind of take it from there, because once you start to get results and everything is running, unless the client has other issues, they usually stay, and things usually work out unless they change a different direction, because what they realize is how much actually goes into creating those campaigns and then giving them the data that they can make decisions on in other aspects of their marketing. And if you frame it right, it works out really well, but it doesn't happen overnight, nor does it happen in 10 minutes.
No, and I'll hit home runs once in a while.
Sure, we all do.
It's numbers game. I will win just under 50% of the experiments that I run, but it doesn't happen overnight. And I sell the expectation too. I was like, if you want to win, you need to embrace this process. It's not and I tell them that I can magically improve your conversion rate day one, but it's not going to stick. It's not going to stay. You're going to be pissed at me in the next 2 months when it didn't stick. It's that continual compounding learning effort that's going to get you there. And I tell clients that, and potential clients that, all the time. It's like, just be patient. And I know you don't have any patience, but you just got to embrace that fact. And I do the same thing, 3 to 6 months, and we're going to get wins along the way. But it's that compounding effort. And the more you can embrace that, the better off it's going to be.
I think the internet still, it's amazing how many people are, sitting here April 2020 and people are like, well, we should be able to just do this. And like, people will magically come. And I'm like, do you know how this works? It's not like, you're operating in an idea, and there's so many companies that we work with that never really jumped into digital, and they're fun to work with. I love them. But, in golf and beer and a handful of others that we have been in for a while, it's like you talk to them and like, well, what do you want to do? And they'll be like, okay, well, that's good. Well, how much of an email list do you have? We don't have one.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking at your website doesn't really have too many bells and whistles. Yeah, we don't know if we're going to update that. Okay. And then it's like you go down the path and it's like, well, what do you actually want to do? Well, we want to get more customers via social media and the internet. And I'm like, all right. Well, we already talked about a couple of things. One, you don't have any data. 2, you don't even have an email list. Your website's out of date. It doesn't work on mobile. You don't have a text messaging list. I'm like, how do you get your current clients? And then you start walking them through a path, and then you have to pull that out and then make it work on digital. And it's fun. It's actually something I really enjoy. But they're like, after you get the website up and then you start running a little bit of traffic, and it's like day 2, they're like, okay, we didn't get anything yet. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay. Like, this isn't like, you just didn't show everybody your website and your ad yet. It takes a little bit of time, and there's little things like that. So it's always fascinating. But, switching it up here, like, what's like the craziest place or the best place you've ever traveled to?
What's the craziest place I've ever traveled to?
Or the best place?
I mean, I've been in a lot of cool places. Really, I've stuck with North America for the most part, but Puerto Rico's always been fun.
You're the second person today that said Puerto Rico.
I loved it there. I don't know. I mean, we went before pre-kids, so it's been, 10 years now. Went there. I also enjoy, in the States, South Carolina, Charleston area. I always liked that. I said if I didn't live in Austin, I would live in Charleston. But, yeah, I mean, I kind of like the history and the stuff that go on in both of those places.
Nice. Now, I know you don't drink anymore, and I think it's important. And I do this. I've had a handful of people and a couple more coming up. Obviously, this podcast goes out to beer drinkers as well as craft brewery owners and golfers and things like that, as well as a marketing list. But I think it's important. I think there's somebody out there that's listening to this that might feel that maybe they need to quit. And what kind of led you down that path? You don't have to get into this like super detailed, but you and I have known each other. I knew you before you quit drinking, which some of those memories are very blurry, but some very fun times. But also, I think it's an important message too. So just tell us a little bit about that.
I had just hit a wall. Alcohol was a massive, massive part of my life from the age of 14 all the way up to, I guess, what is it now, 32. or so. I just celebrated 7 years. So 7 years ago, I had my last drop of alcohol, and I had just hit a wall. I mean, I toured in a band. I was sponsored by Budweiser, a liquor distributor. I was running, in bars 5 days a week. So it was a big part of my life every day, pretty much, leading up to it. And business wasn't going good. My little relationship with my wife wasn't the best. We just had a second kid, and I was just done. I was out of shape. I didn't feel well. And it was just my time. And I remember I was actually, speaking of golf, I was on a board. I was actually the chairman for a charitable golf event that we were putting on, and we held our planning meeting at the bar. And this was, 7 years ago. So literally in this last week, it was 7 years. So I had a few too many drinks, and I got in an argument with my wife, and she's, basically said, I had a couple too many, and I just said I was done. I broke down, and that was it. It was just my time, and it had consumed me so much that I was, by lunchtime, wondering when I can go to the bar, because I was working out of coffee shops, and at the time, working out of coffee shops, and then I'd go have lunch at the restaurant bar and sit at the corner of the bar, and then pretty soon one drink turned into six, and then I'd go home and drink a bottle of wine, and I just couldn't keep doing that. And fortunately, I didn't have any, run-ins with the law. I didn't have any DUIs. I didn't have any of that stuff. That'll often come out when somebody says you quit drinking, but it was just the right choice for me. My wife still drinks. My family still drinks. All my friends, they still drink. It doesn't bother me, to each their own. Hell, you're not exactly shy about your drinking either, but and we've got mutual friends that even have their own breweries. It's not a big deal from that perspective, but what caused me to quit was just I had enough.
No, I think, and I'm always I know, like, sometimes I've talked to many people, and I hung out and still do hang out with a lot of former drinkers. And it helps because you also have a message, and you're not very preachy about it whatsoever. And I think it's not neither good nor bad. I think it's just always a good thing. It's just like you tell people just the truth about it. And I know there's probably somebody listening to this that's just kind of questioning, what they're doing, and I think when you talk to people that have been down that road and don't know what to, and somebody's listening that doesn't know what to do, it just helps frame that, and, I think everybody, myself included, you think about like, oh, am I drinking too much? Am I doing that? Especially being around, like craft breweries, there's a lot of times where I just vanish because the night is getting too deep. Sometimes I stick around, but I also know, like, when there's times where people have issues, they can't walk away, but they also feel obligated because they work in an industry that is about beer, alcohol, etc. And, I've had, it'll be the second, and then I have a couple others that are coming on and have the same type of thing where it was just like, hey, I was done, it was screwing up my life, and I just had to make a change. For me, I'll go weeks, even though I may not show it on social media, etc., just to kind of get the conversation going. I'll go weeks without a beer or a drink. It's funny as we're talking about this now, and we're in April 2020, and I've drank less during this quarantine than I normally would because I'm a social drinker. Like, I'm not going to sit at home and polish off, a bunch of drinks. Not that I'd never done that before, but I'm not going to sit at home. And I like to be out with people and hang out and have that aspect of it. It's not just, oh, I need to drink, but there's times where entrepreneurs and there's times where business owners, which is a large audience of this, or a large percentage of this that listens to this, sometimes you do get caught up in, myself included. I throw myself in there where you're sitting there going, I'll have a couple beers at lunch that just ruins your day. May not ruin your life that day, but it just puts you at a disadvantage sometimes. And sometimes you have to keep yourself in check. So I appreciate you sharing that. So do you still golf?
When I can.
I know, me too.
Really, I haven't enough. My kids been kind of getting into golf during this whole quarantine thingy.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me that.
So my son, like, we went to the park yesterday or day before, sometime this weekend, and he hit, balls back and forth, just, grab a little 9-iron and go after it. Before that, I didn't really do anything till, I guess we did Top Golf for our Christmas party at the company. And I really haven't been out and around a golf in a while, but I always intend to. We've been to the driving range quite a bit before we got on lockdown. So when the kids got interested in it, we went, found a cool little driving range that's got a short chipping course, and they got some actual chipping greens and chipping targets. And then they've got the driving range plus a putting green. That's pretty cool that we found. That's really cheap, not too far from our house. So we've been partaking in that, but an actual round of golf, not so much.
And I know you've been involved in golf marketing in the past.
Yes.
What's your perception of just the sport and how it's marketed, both online and then just in general? I mean, do you have a feel for that?
I mean, it's changed quite a bit, but it's not. I like the fact that they're positioning it a little bit more towards kids and trying to bring up that younger audience, because it is an old timers club generally. And I'm excited to see that, even my kids are getting involved in it when it's not necessarily a massive part of our household. But I still enjoy the fact that golf is a gentleman's sport per se, that there's a lot of, I guess, the ethics that go into being an actual golfer. Obviously you got the bad apples there too, but, those that lie about their score all the time, but, it's an honest game. And I like the fact that it is really just going to kids. Like, even my kids like watching, my son particularly will, when we could actually watch golf, he really enjoyed watching it and seeing how, oh my God, you see how hard, far he hit that ball, and, seeing the sky track and doing all of the things with it. So he gets excited about it, and then he immediately wants to go outside and chip balls. So seeing that is exciting to me. As far as, I'm kind of removed from the actual marketing aspect. It's been quite a few years. What I was a part of is now Golf Channel. So it was quite a few years. I guess it's been 7 or 8 years since I've been really, really into it. But they're a passionate bunch, that's for sure.
For sure.
Anything to get that extra 5 or 10 yards.
Anything. You have any favorite golf moment, like whether you're watching on TV or just playing?
My personal moment was, the person that taught me how to golf was my grandfather. Mm-hmm. And he died, I guess it's been 5, 6, 7 years ago, but I was fortunate enough to play golf with him when he was still able to play golf. Probably one of the last really, truly memorable rounds that I got to play with him. I golfed absolutely terrible, but we just went to a municipal course, nothing crazy, nothing super long, but being able to spend that time with him, literally within probably a year and a half from when he died. And doing so, I'll never forget, the looks and, that day. Like, I can literally picture it, and I've got goosebumps on my arm just thinking about it. But he taught me, basically gave me an old golf set when I was, 12 or 13 years old. And, I think I actually still have the putter that he gave me.
Nice.
Way back then. It was an old Ping Day putter, like a brass, like Ping Day putter. And I think it still has the original grip on it even. That was probably my most memorable. And then now being able to transfer that to my son and even my daughter being able to hit balls and just having fun doing it instead of forcing them to, hey, let's go out and hit golf balls. Them being excited to go do it has been fun.
We have the same story, minus kids, but same story. People teaching you the game, kind of passing it on. It's always the good stuff. Well, great talking to you. Why don't you tell everybody where you can be found on the World Wide Web?
The interwebs. I am pretty much everywhere. So you can go to conversionfanatics.com. I think you can go to One Stop Social, I believe it is. One Spot Social. One Stop Social.
One Spot.
OneSpotSocial.com/Justin Christianson. Sorry, he just switched the URL on us. And made that. But yeah, you can go there, find all my social channels. I've got videos on YouTube, but I'm pretty much out there and reachable if anybody has any questions.
Well, awesome, my friend. I appreciate you coming on and chatting with me in a different format than we normally do. But, we're going to continue this series. We've been doing a lot of different things, just bringing you people that I know that actually know what they're doing, so you can get a different perspective. So follow them, follow Justin, take a look at his stuff. If you have something that you're pushing out there and you're trying to figure things out, you can pick up his book. It can give you some insights of why things might not be working. You can take it back to your agency, take it back to your team, or hire a new agency and go from there. So thanks, Justin. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.